The opinions expressed on Goddess of the Nile Radio are expressions for informational and entertainment purposes only and are not intended as a diagnosis, treatment, or a substitute for professional advice. Please consult a professional for your specific needs or concerns. We encourage you to use the topics discussed to generate your own conversation within the community. Should you have any questions or concerns regarding the content of the show, please feel free to use the hashtag GNR or email lovenileradio@gmail.com.
Goddess of the Nile Radio would like to thank our social media sponsors, Dope Curves, Noah's Jungle Bunch, and Chelsea by Chance. Our anonymous sponsor for assisting in making this YouTube live possible. Our small business sponsors, Divine Chakras LLC and Haru Heads. Our artist sponsors, Tanisha Clark and Kenora Berry. Our spiritual supporters, Collective Conscious Minds, Yeshua's Lightworkers, Indigo 11, and Sacred Woman Indigo Circle. And a special thank you to our Patreon members and followers. And to the most important people that make this dream possible, you, our listeners. We are Goddess of the Nile Radio, and we do this for you.
You are now listening to Goddess of the Nile Radio.
Come again, when you light us up again.
You are now listening to Goddess of the Nile Radio.
It is your birthright to accept and receive the goodness of the world, the tools to create your destiny, the love and nourishment from others, a life of abundance, days filled with propositions, manifested success coming from places that serve you, manifested success poured into your life and the lives of others. You are guided and given the authority to receive the gifts of the universe, for these gifts have already been given to you long before your arrival here. Your faith in yourself makes it real and opens the doors for manifestation to rush in. Your consciousness is open to receive and to give. It is your birthright, and it is done now.
You are now listening to Goddess of the Nile Radio.
Through this mantra of manifestation, all things are possible. We proclaim absolutely that all of us are living in a friendly universe that is always providing for us. We have felt it happening and we are feeling it happening now. We are open to receive more abundance than we have ever experienced before. We can afford and do anything that our heart desires. We need never to worry again. We are filled with an attitude of gratitude for what we already have and all that we are giving and ready to give. We keep ourselves lifted in high consciousness no matter what the appearances are. The universe is always providing in our favor. We are creators of our today and our tomorrow. Reciting a mantra is an excellent way to start your day. Calm you down while you are upset and refocus your consciousness. For a copy of this mantra, please feel free to visit our Patreon account by searching for Goddess of the Nile Radio on patreon.com. It's your girl Azure Neteru Gaia, and I'm out. Peace.
You are now listening to Goddess of the Nile Radio.
Grand Rising Earthlings! It's your girl Azure Neteru Gaia!
And it's your girl Shalom, Ashe, Gaia. No relation though. Grand Rising, everybody.
And collectively,
we are
Goddess of the Nile Radio
Show. We're going to be better next week.
Yeah. Cornballs USA. Well, Grand Rising world, welcome to our space. Welcome to our divine, glorious, peaceful, fully full of energized space. I don't know what I just said, but who cares? It's a happy Sunday here. The sun is out finally. Folks got married yesterday.
Ooh, what's married?
Well, girl, we had to...
Oh, that.
Honey, the conscious community is in an uproar over that thing, honey. We're going to have to talk about that. We're going to have to... It's okay. I think we're just going to just come off the dome with that one. You know what I mean?
I'm down.
Because the conscious community is in an uproar. It's like a division going on social media between the woke and the walking zombies.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So a lot of people are confused by that wedding. Anywho. Tea and shade. Well, you know what, Shalom? I think some of your wisdom comes from your spirituality.
Yes, it does.
I really think so. I think that like your third eye is open, and you know you talk a lot about your ancestors and things like that. So I believe that your wisdom comes from your spirituality. Now, what I've always been curious about is when did you have your awakening? You talk a lot about this surgery that you had, and this Indian guy that came and did something. He put a crystal on your soul.
I was talking about that last night, actually. Oh my gosh. Okay, so when did Shalom become awake? So I've always been connected spiritually. Even when I was a child, like all of my deceased family members would come to me. You know, my uncle, my father, various other people would come to me in my dreams. So I had lucid dreams all the time. And fast forward, you know, I was raised Christian, you know, raised in the church. And, you know, I went to Bible study. I went to Bible school. I went, you know, I was in the praise team. I was in the youth choir. My mom was on the finance team. You know, I did junior usher board, and you name it, I did it in the church, you know. And so I was always connected on that end. But I never was connected spiritually. Like, I never went and gave my life to Christ. I was like, I'm not giving my life to no Christ. Like,
so you were never baptized?
I was baptized.
Okay.
They sprinkled my head with water.
Like when you were a baby?
When I was a baby,
okay.
yes. But I never went and gave my life to Christ. Now, fast forward into my high school years, I actually met a guy. I was dating a guy for years, and he was Pentecostal. And his family was hardcore Pentecostal. And I found myself diving into the Pentecostal sector of Christianity, which I never understood why there's so many sectors. But anyway, so we'll talk about that later. So I ended up getting baptized in the pool.
Okay.
They dipped me in the water, dressed me in white, took me down, you know, did all of that. And then I found myself in a tarrying room, tarrying and, you know, trying to invoke the Holy Spirit and so that I can speak in tongues.
Okay.
Okay, and that's a whole nother thing. But, you know, I did speak in tongues. I don't know what happened. It was a spiritual connection for me. I know, right?
That's really
Y'all ain't know about that.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, I found myself, you know, diving deep into the Pentecostal sector. Now, Pentecostals, they really focus on the Older Testament. You know, their ways of, you know, the woman should be this and that and, you know, all these things. Like, you know, I do respect the Pentecostal sector in that respect, but forcing people to speak in tongues in a tarrying room for me was kind of much. It was very involved. And Christianity always seemed too involved for me. You know, I felt like I was having to follow all these rules and all of these, you know, commandments and if I slipped up one little time, I was going straight to the devil's house. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it was. And, oh, you're never going to make it to heaven. And when I realized that in the book of Revelation, it says there's only going to be 144,000 people that go to heaven. I said, oh, to hell with all of this.
Okay.
Forget all of this. You know, so that's when I started to desensitize myself to Christianity. This was after college. During college. So I graduated from high school in 2002. And I went to college, JCSU, big ups to JCSU, my alma mater in North Carolina. Went down there and I did my own thing. You know, I strayed away from church and, you know, I was still on the straight and narrow path. It wasn't like I was out here being crazy and doing stupid stuff.
Was the relationship still going on between you and the guy?
No. So he left me because I was going to college.
Okay.
He left me. He said, you know, I want you to go and do your thing.
Okay.
And he was older than me. At the time I was 17. He was 21.
Okay.
So he was a few years older than me, but it was probably one of the best experiences that I had as far as like someone that I was with, but also being engaged in religion. Like, you know, a real spiritual connection with somebody.
Absolutely.
And my parents approved of it, so whatever. But anyway, so I went to school, you know, graduated in 4 years, ended up staying. I actually stayed in Charlotte for 10 years.
Wow.
And I found myself back in Pentecostal because Kennedy's father, my daughter, her father is in the Pentecostal sector of Christianity.
Okay.
So
did you meet him at church?
No.
Okay.
I met her father on campus.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And we actually have the same birthday, 1/13/1984. We have the exact same birthday, so that's how we became connected.
Okay.
But of course, we weren't religiously connected. You know, we were out doing our thing, partying, whatever. So me and him, we lived together for a good 6.5 years, and towards the end of our relationship is when we started going back to church together because I knew that he had grew up in the church. His aunt was really a big pivotal part of his life right before he was about to, he got locked up, and then his aunt came in and really kind of took over, and he was on house arrest with her and stuff. So she really pushed him into going back to church. Okay, so we went back, you know, we ended up back in Pentecostal church, and so basically I found myself speaking in tongues again.
Okay, but were you like...
I wasn't in a tarrying room.
Okay.
This was literally Kennedy, I remember because Kennedy was born and I had Kennedy in my arms and we were going up to get the hands laid on us.
Okay.
Get the hands laid on you. So I literally felt something in my spirit, like trying to conjure itself up in me. But I just didn't, I was suppressing it.
Okay.
As soon as that pastor laid his hand on my third eye, I lost it. And someone had to come get the baby, and they say you jumping around and shouting and all this stuff. So my daughter's father was joking. He was like, "You look like an old lady over there jumping around and screaming and shouting."
You got the Holy Ghost.
I caught the Holy Ghost.
Air
is
quotes.
what they say. Air quotes. Yes. So after that, I was like, you know what? Like after that whole thing happened, I was just like, why am I doing this? You know, like, why am I doing this? What is the point of me putting on a show, I guess, so to say, for these people in church? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just felt like it was a show that I was putting on. So me and him, we broke up, and I ended up moving back home in 2011. So I moved back home in 2011. Still wasn't going to church, still wasn't doing, anything like that. But then my father got really sick. So my father got really sick. 2012, my father got really sick, and I literally watched him just, get worse and worse and worse and worse over time. And October 1st, 2014, my father passed away. And I literally, that day was, I'll never forget that day. I was actually working at Sephora that day. And, I knew my father was in the hospital. He was in and out of the hospital. He was really sick, obviously, just like I said. And my aunt called my job and told my job that I needed to come to the hospital. That, I needed to come to the hospital. So, I'm getting my stuff and not even thinking, anything about it, getting my stuff together. So I end up leaving. I'm on my way to the hospital. Now, subsequently, 2 weeks before that, I saw my father. That was the last time I saw him in person. And I knew something wasn't right. I knew that I said to myself, I said, this man is not going to be here much longer. And I knew that. So on my way to the hospital, I get there at 5:40. And I came in the room, I saw my father. He was on basically life support. He was in a cardiac arrest. And my aunt was like, he may come out of it, and he may come out of it. And I'm just like, I don't want him to come out of it. I want him to transition. I want him to be free. I want him to be better.
How old were you at this time when that happened?
I was 2014, so what's this, I was 30 years old. I just turned 30 that year. So.
And you already knew about transitioning.
Yeah.
Nothing to be scary about. You already knew that. Wow.
I was never afraid of death. Never afraid of death.
Wow.
Never. So I left out the room, and as I'm sitting there talking to my aunt, and everyone's like, all the family is there, everyone's consoling me. And my aunt comes in and she's like, he's gone. He's gone. And I'm like, what? And she was like, he's gone. And so, you know, we all ran down to the room, and, you know, my mom was in there crying, and, you know, basically, you know, he had passed. And that told me right then and there that he was waiting on me to come.
Aww.
Because I literally left from Columbia, went all the way to Laurel, and, you know, he waited for me to get there to say my final goodbye to him. And that's when I knew, like, there was more than just religion. Something in me said, Shalom, there's more than just religion. There's more than Jesus. It's bigger. Yeah. So that's when I went on my quest, like, to figure out how to communicate with my father.
Whoa.
And so that led to my spiritual walk. And at that point is when I started to become politically awake. Okay. And I feel like there's stages. I feel like people become politically awake first, and then they kind of step into spirituality, or vice versa. Okay. Because once your third eye is open, you start to see things beyond the physicality of, you know, what is around you, what is in and around you. So surgery. So a few years later, this was actually a year ago, I had gallbladder surgery. And I had gallbladder surgery, obviously, because of the way I was eating. And so I went in to have surgery, and this Indian doctor, he was so funny. He was like, you're going to be a different woman when you wake up. Really? Literally. And I went to sleep, and I woke up, and I was never the same again. Never the same. I met a girl who, Sierra, shout out to Sierra if you're listening. She's actually the friend of Life's Butters, who makes the necklaces and everything else. Yeah. I saw one of my friends, the girl that actually had me at her house yesterday, she posted a picture about sage and Palo Santo. And my spirit was like, Shalom, you need sage and Palo Santo. And I'm like, why do I need sage and Palo Santo? I don't even know what it is and what it does. Like, I knew about sage, but I didn't know, like, what it was. Right. You know what I mean? So I asked my girl Sierra, I said, where can I get sage and Palo Santo and crystals? And she said, girl, you got a crystal fox right around the corner in Laurel. That's right. And I was like,
shout out to Crystal Fox, man.
Word?
We need to be a sponsor.
So I went to Crystal Fox, and that was it. I was hooked. And I bought my first sage. I bought my first crystal. My first crystal was actually given to me by someone, and I didn't even realize it was a crystal until I realized it was a crystal. Whoa. I bought this body butter from this girl, and she had a clear quartz in it. But I'm trying to speed it up because I got Tizzy over here giving me warnings.
Yes, our producer. Shout out to Big Tiz. Big Tiz Productions.
Right, Big Tiz Productions. So my first crystal was actually a clear quartz that came in this little, like, glass jar or whatever. So, you know, from there, I just got into everything that I'm into now. So I guess we can talk about that when we come back. Because I don't want to start and then I have to stop.
I know, right? Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. Here today on Goddess of the Nile Radio, we're discussing following your spiritual path, the journey. This is part 3. So it's your girl Azure Neteru Gaia, and here with Shalom Ashe Gaia, better known as the Gaias. And we'll be right back. Peace.
We are back. It's your girl Shalom Ashe Gaia here with your divine report for this week. And your divine report is sponsored by Divine Chakras LLC because we are a brand. So let's talk about tarot this week. And just to get it out the way really quick, I've been reading tarot for thousands of years. If you know me, you know I've been reading tarot for thousands of years. Okay? And even though I'm a certified tarot reader, I read with my intuition and I also read with my ancestors. Okay? So with that being said, the information that I channel is legit and it is official. All right? So while I was talking, I was shuffling, trying to fill in the time here. And sometimes when I shuffle, like, Spirit tells me to keep shuffling, so I have to keep shuffling. And then Spirit says stop, just like they did now. So we're going to stop, and I'm going to do a tarot reading for you guys for the week this week. We are 11 days away from May 31st. Today is the 20th. So let's get a tarot reading for this week. So we're looking at the 20th through the 27th. Yes? Okay. So let's flip our first card. We have the Queen of Cups. Our second card is the Seven of Cups upside down. Spirit says third card, so we're just going to go with the bottom, which is the Six of Swords upside down, all right? So Cups is all about emotions. It's about romanticism. It's about creation. It's about fluidity. It's about manifestations. I shaded that. The Queen of Cups is your very connected female energy, all right? Even though it's the Queen of Cups, we can also put this message into our men, okay, our divine masculine energy as well. But we're looking at a woman who is very balanced. She's very wise. She's very in touch with herself. She's very in touch with other people. She's very in touch with nature, okay? This week is going to be your week to get in touch with who you are at the heart, who you are as a divine being, as a divine feminine being. And yes, men, you can be divinely feminine as well. That is a part of your makeup, okay? This week, I'm going to tell you guys to work with Amazonite. Amazonite has been on my mind greatly. So work with the Amazonite. It's going to really help to balance you out, both your divine feminine and your divine masculine energies. But this is going to be a week that some people may be very sensitive as well. I know that I'm going to be very sensitive this week because my baby is being birthed. This week, Divine Chakras LLC presents Makeup and Metaphysics Boutique. And I know I'm going to be very sensitive when it comes to, like, you know, my baby and really like nurturing and growing her. So for someone who is actually maybe starting a project this week, not even a business, but just maybe you're starting a new job this week, or maybe you're starting a new venture within the work that you're doing, just focus in on your inner self, focus in on your higher self, focus in on your third eye, and kind of fish through the situation using your third eye, okay? That's what I'm going to say about the Queen of Cups, all right? Someone also told me to mention Cancer. So if you are a Cancer out there, then this is some energy that you might want to focus on as well. The Seven of Cups upside down. So the Seven of Cups upside down is all about re-examining, looking at your goals, if it was upright, but the card is upside down. So that just telling me that even though you may be sensitive to what you're doing this week, you kind of already know what you want to do, and you're kind of on a beeline. So I feel like people this week are not even going to be re-examining anything. I feel like you are very focused on what you want to do, and you're just going for it, and you're just putting the pedal to the metal, and you're literally just like, all right, I have my business idea, I have my business, and I'm just going to go for it. Like, every week is go week for me, but like this is like go week. Go, 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 go. Also, sometimes you may feel like your fire is out, but I feel like this week you're going to be reignited with your fire. This is also Scorpio energy as well, the Seven of Cups. So I feel like some of you all are going to get your fire spark back up. I know that it's been raining all last week here in Maryland, so my fire has been out, honey, with the rain. But with the sun being out this week, definitely, or today I should say, my fire has been reignited. My passions have been reignited. So I feel like there's going to be less confusion this week, and there's going to be more of a clear picture as to what you want to do as far as going forward. Again, make sure that you use your intuition to guide you, okay? The last card is the Six of Swords. And the Six of Swords is all about traveling. It's all about escape and going to the next level. But I feel like right now we kind of need to sit in our truth. We kind of need to sit in what we are handling right now, what we are doing right now. So just kind of be still this week. Kind of turn the TV off and just listen. Listen to your inner and your higher self. Do some meditations this week that are going to really focus on like internally, like what your next moves are. But on an intellectual base, like it's just time to really just not let any distractions come into your world, and just to really focus in on what your goals are, okay? So this is Shalom Ashe Gaia for Divine Chakras LLC. This has been your Divine Report here on Goddess of the Nile Radio Show. I love you all. Peace.
Hey guys, welcome back to Goddess of the Nile Radio, live right here on the WinDC Radio app and YouTube channel. It's your girl Azure Neteru Gaia here with Shalom, Ashe, Gaia.
That be me, yes.
And we are better known as the Gaias.
We are the Gaias.
We are the Gaias,
That sounds
honey.
like somebody's like royal family or
Of
something.
course, we're the Gaias, darling. Welcome. Today we're talking about following your spiritual path, part 3, and this is the journey. And we had dug in deep into Shalom's personal journey and her story on how she had her spiritual awakening, because we do know and understand that a lot of you guys out there are having your own spiritual awakening experience. Shalom has shared from her elementary school, high school. She took us on this tour of her life, and where we stopped at was she walked into Crystal Fox and she picked up some sage, and she received her first crystal before she even knew it was her first crystal, and it was off to the races.
Yes, it was. Crystal Fox was very pivotal for me because, like, when I walked in, I knew about everything that Crystal Fox sold. But Christianity taught me that it was the devil's work. That tarot cards, being psychic was the devil's work. But we have prophets in Christianity who prophesize and say that God spoke to them. But it's all the same thing to me. It's very controversial religion to me. And so, I just dove deeper. I just started diving deep and deep and deep and deep and deep. And I stumbled upon African spirituality. My first experience with spirituality besides crystals was chakras, the chakra system. And I learned about the chakra system from my girl Sierra, and I was just like, how am I going to remember all of this stuff?
It's a lot, yeah.
Because it's like I've been indoctrinated into Christianity, and all I knew was, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the light. And that's all that I knew. And, learning something different, let alone it being like presented in a different language, which is Hinduism. Right. I was just like, what? What is ajna? What is sasahara? What? I don't know what this stuff is. So and I always say that anytime that you are going to connect with something different, you need to learn what you're connecting with. You know what I'm saying? So so Spirit is telling me to touch on this. So I'm going to be open and say that with me moving into more of a spiritual walk, I realized that the people around me were not the people that I need to be around. And I'm feeling this in my solar plexus right now, so this is something that I need to say. But I literally dropped a lot of my friends. And it wasn't because I, was being mean or anything. They just weren't aligned with the things that I was doing, the things that I was pursuing, the things that I was studying. And I always tell people, support your friends like you support, the local tree man around the corner, and I had to realize my friends really weren't supporting me in the way that I needed them to support me. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the things that opened my eyes to okay, and honestly, at that point I was like, what am I doing here? Am I really, am I tripping? Is something wrong with me now? What am I going through something? Is it because I don't have a gallbladder anymore? What's going on? And Spirit said, no, Shalom, this is not anything that you're doing wrong. Mm-hmm. We are divinely guiding you, to create voids in your life so that you can fill them with people and things that serve you.
Absolutely. Shalom, I just witnessed something beautiful when you got your channel just now. And you're still receiving it. But I knew you were getting a channel because I actually saw your body did something. I don't know if you know that you do it, but your body did this really cool twitch kind of.
I felt it.
Yeah.
No, I felt it in my solar plexus. That's why I was like,
But it was real. It was. I don't want to use the word freaky, but it was kind of cool to witness. So my YouTube people, you guys, if you guys saw that when we're done with the live, play it back.
Play it back.
Yeah.
I don't know what marker that was, but play that back.
Play that back.
1204.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
So you had to get rid of the people in your life that were not serving you. They weren't supporting your spiritual journey?
They weren't. And
Okay.
I came out to them, not like, I feel like you come out just like you come out with anything in life,
Which is interesting that you have to do that.
Well,
comes
I
to
feel like
religion.
you do. It's almost like a disclaimer. Like, okay, so I don't believe in Jesus anymore. I don't believe in God as the way you see it anymore. So therefore, I must tell you because number one, it's a different way of life. Like, I'm not into reality TV anymore. I hardly listen to the radio anymore. Like, I just feel like I don't do the social things that normal people do anymore. And I still go out and have fun and, have a little drink every now and again. I still do that, but as far as like, and I really don't even know how to explain it, but like, just my overall presentation is different. Like, I dress different now. Like, I'm wearing my head wraps. I do my crystals and stuff. And it's a shift. You can literally see people shifting. I look at pictures of myself from a year ago. My face is still beat, but like, I'm not wearing crystals. Like, my glow is different. My aura is different. Yeah. I can see in my eyes that girl who was confused and broken and didn't understand where she was going in life. You know what I mean? And like, I'm getting emotional right now, but like a year ago, I was doing makeup. And now I'm like healing people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And like, I gave up makeup because I did not understand what my life's purpose was. I was so confused. I was so lost. And like, that's what spirituality has led me to understand, was like, I don't need any outside source to figure out who I am and what I'm about. Everything that I ever needed is inside of me.
Absolutely.
I have everything that I could have ever wanted and needed in my body. And so once I tapped into knowing that, I'm literally the most happiest person on this earth right now with everything that is happening. Even if I may not be able to like, pay that bill this week or get my nails done that week, like, the universe is always providing no matter what. And I create my own reality, and I know this, right? So a year ago, Divine Chakras wasn't even a thing, but a handle on Instagram.
Yeah.
I created a separate handle because I knew that Glam by Am and Divine Chakras were two different entities. Absolutely. And I knew that people on Glam by Am was not going to be able to handle what Glam by Am had to say. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I didn't even touch on my name change, but my ancestors gave me my name in October when I started working for the Enchanted Fae. So shout out to the Enchanted Fae, because they've given me a platform to be able to read tarot cards in person. Yeah. And that's been a different experience for me. But, I had to really realize like that what I learned before was more of a scare tactic and more of a way for me to follow outside sources. And like, no one ever told me that everything that I needed was in me. No one ever, my mother never told me that. She told me that I had to go to a 9 to 5. I needed to pay bills. I needed to go to church. I needed to come home, and that was it. I need to find a husband or whatever. And I'm just like, girl, I'll figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, I just be floating through life. Like, whatever, namaste.
But that's freedom.
But that's freedom. That's being spiritually free.
It's being spiritually
the shackles
free.
Have been let off of me, and even though sometimes, I have these thoughts of like, okay, Jesus runs through my mind every now and again. I'm not going to lie, because you have the influences of the world that come to you. But then I have to be like, snap out of it, son. Snap out of it, Shalom. I be slapping my own face. Like, snap out of it. Like, girl, you tripping. But that's just, y'all have to realize, when you've lived I'm 34 now. When you've lived 34 years and all you know is what your parents in this world has taught you, it takes probably another 34 years to completely unprogram you.
Absolutely.
And the only reason why I'm able to speak in my truth right here, right now on Goddess of the Nile radio show is because I have allowed Spirit to use me. I have allowed the universe to use me because I know that I have a bigger purpose, and that's to heal people and to help. And that's what I've been doing. Shout out to Collective Conscious Minds because that is my group, and we are a tribe. You know, we are a family, and like these women, like, oh my gosh, like they're so dynamic and they're so brave to step into the healing circle.
Yes,
I always say that you're so brave because it's people out here that will demonize what we're doing right here, right now.
Absolutely.
They don't believe, you know, that. They don't believe that you should be able to think for yourself or to meditate or to play with tarot cards and stuff. But what is the difference between, you know, someone prophesizing, like I said, in church, or going to someone that actually speaks to Spirit directly but doesn't call it speaking to God? So what is that?
Early on, when you first had your spiritual awakening, was there a fear to connect to certain types of energy? And what type of energies were you connecting to early on?
Early on, I wasn't connecting to energies at all. I'll be honest with you. I didn't start really connecting to energies until I had this fast. I fasted for about 4 days. I didn't eat anything or drink anything.
Oh, wow.
And I did a fast because I knew that I had to detox my body. I mean, I wasn't drinking. I wasn't doing anything.
Were you working at the time?
I was working.
Okay.
I didn't leave my job until November.
Okay.
I was working at the time. And what I started to realize was that when I was at work, I was starting to get drained. The more and more I started working with crystals and I started meditating, I started to get drained physically because I was taking on all this negative energy. Yes. And it was just way too much. And I don't call myself an empath, really. I don't think that I'm an empath. I'm a very special being. I am. You know, I'm a goddess. But I started to realize, okay, I am shifting. I am ascending. All right? I started seeing the numbers all the time. My ears started ringing. And I remember having this dream. And it was like, I had a dream that I was fighting a warlock.
Whoa.
In the dream. It was very, very crazy. And the Archangel Michael, he sent down a sword for me to kill the warlock. And I killed the warlock, and when I woke up, like, I feel like that's when I started to connect with different energies. Whoa. So my first energy that I ever connected with was my father. Okay. I have him on video saying it's dad, screaming it's dad. I always talk about this, but that's when I knew that this was real. I knew that spiritual connection was real when he was on tape, and I could hear him. My next set of energies, so my ancestors, I guess, was my first energies that I started connecting with. The second energy that I started connecting with was Bast and Ampu. Okay. And they actually came to me in a dream after receiving distance Reiki. I was in a group. We were in a group together, Indigo Tribe 11.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Indigo Tribe 11.
Yes. And Osset, she administered a solar plexus distance Reiki. That was my first time ever taking on Reiki. Oh, wow. Okay. And I said, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it right, you know? And when I did it, I literally woke up out of my dream screaming Bass' name, like screaming her name. And that's when I knew, okay, it's time to go to work. Yeah. It's time to go to work. So it took me maybe 8 or 9 months to connect to energies. And I would definitely say, like, take your time. Like, it's not something to just jump into and just think you're just going to start connecting to people. Oh, God, yeah. Even your ancestors. And that's how people get these visions of negativity and stuff.
Yeah,
because
and they get in trouble, too, you know?
They haven't taken the steps that get them, that align them to get to the energies the correct way.
That is so true. Thank you so much for sharing your journey.
Yes.
I really appreciate that. I've learned a lot about you today, and I'm sure our listeners appreciate you sharing that with them. A lot of our listeners are new to this walk. They're new to this awakening. They don't really kind of get what's happening to them or understand, and they feel so alone.
Yeah,
because they're the only one in their family.
The black sheep.
Yeah, they're the only one in their group of friends who is having this awakening. So it's very beautiful that you shared that with them today. So we're gonna come right. We're gonna
take a break.
There we go.
And we're gonna come right back to Goddess of the Now radio show here on the WinDC app. No West.
I'm glad someone got it together. Peace.
Welcome back, everyone. This is your girl Shalom Ashe Gaia, and we are the Gaias
live right here
on the WinDC Radio app.
yes, and YouTube channel.
No, in all seriousness, you guys, we are Goddess of the Now radio show, and collectively we are the Gaias.
Right. That's an inside joke.
It is an inside joke. And so before we went on our music break, we wrapped up my interview. Azure interviewed me on my spiritual walk, and so now I have the honor and the privilege to interview Azure, Neteru, Gaia.
Yes, grab y'all.
Yes.
Grab y'all popcorn. Get ready.
So I just want to give just a little, put that out there. I met Azure when she was Chachi.
Yes, Chachi Tiali.
Yes, and we met in the Indigo Tribe 11. Indigo 11 Tribe, whatever it's called. Yeah. But that's where we met. And, she said she saw one of my videos because I would post all the time in the group. And she was like, I need to know who this girl is. At the time, I was Amber, okay? I need to know who this girl is. And then she said, oh, and she lives in the DMV? So that's how we connected. And she's always just been a loving spirit and just so, supportive, and she's just such a sweetheart. So if you ever meet her personally, she's everything. So what I want to know, Azure, is how long have you been on your journey?
Whoa. Well, thank you for your kind words. I feel all warm and gushy.
I had to get you started.
It has been almost a lifelong journey for me. I knew ever since I think I was Kennedy's age, I knew that something was going on with me. I knew that I was spiritual back then, and I was different. I remember my first experience for me was being on the bus, as we call it here in Maryland, the cheese bus. So being on the cheese bus with my best friend, and I had a towel in my book bag. And when we were on the bus, I put the towel on my head and did it up in a turban. And she was like, what are you doing? And I said, I want to have hair like white people, which is really weird, right? But in my head, the towel was representing Caucasian's hair, right? Yeah. But I had did it unconsciously like a turban. Right? So I reflect back on that because now I just need my hair to be covered at all times. I feel weird if it's not covered. And then I started to have dreams. And in those dreams, it was a reoccurring dream that was happening, if not every night, once a week. And in this dream, there was a huge ape that was chasing me. And I always had on, remember those onesie pajamas with the slippery bottom with your feet? I always wore those. I love those pajamas too. But I always had these pajamas in my dream. And the feet are really, really slippery. So the ape would come and I would look out the back window and he would be have my family members dangling, and he was eating them. And I had to get away from him. So I would run down the hallway. I would slip and slide down the hallway and slide underneath my bed. And he would always catch me. But I would always wake myself up before he had a chance to eat me. So Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. I watched that movie. And in one of the series of the movie, there was this girl who had discovered that she could do whatever she wanted to do or be whatever she wanted to be in the dream. And she shared this information with her friends. So what they did was they all became these superheroes in their dreams, and they kind of beat up Freddy Krueger in the dream. And I said, oh, I can do this too. Yeah. So it motivated me to start doing that in my dreams. And I actually kicked some ape butt that night.
Yes.
So I was lucid dreaming before I knew it was lucid dreaming.
Right.
And I was doing this on the regular. So then fast forward to high school, I began to have a strong intuition. So like in the 90s, there was a lot of like drug dealing that was going on in the Washington, D.C. area. And not because I wanted to, but just by chance, a lot of my friends were in that lifestyle. So we had busing back then. And basically what they did was they bussed the, how do I explain this? They bussed like the middle class students. They mixed the middle class students in with the high poverty students, if that makes any sense. They had us in the schools together.
Yeah.
So because for some reason, I'm always attracted to people for some reason. I didn't know why back then, didn't have the information. I was always attracted to people that were less fortunate than I was. And I always felt like I had to help them. So what did that turn into? That turned into Azure becoming the street corners mystic. The street corner psychic, because I knew when the jump out boys were coming. I knew when the police was coming. I knew when there was going to be a shootout. I just knew it. I felt it.
And you were always right?
I was always right. And I would warn everyone. And
wow.
then it had got to the point where like it was a business. Like because back then we had, and like Kennedy wouldn't know what this is, but we had something called payphones.
Yes.
So the payphones were on the corner where the drug dealers would be. And they actually started giving me the numbers of the payphones, and they were saying, if you ever feel anything is about to happen, call us. And that's what I was doing. And they were like giving me money. It was my little side hustle back then. So, but still, I didn't embrace the fact that I was psychic. So around,
you didn't really know I
didn't know what it was.
What it was.
I didn't know what it was. I just felt like it was feelings. Like I feel this way. So around 15. I began to feel conflicted. I felt like I needed some type of spiritual direction. Like a lot of things were happening to me that was really, really strange. A Jehovah's Witness would come walking up to me off the street and, girl, you need to be saved. And girl, you need to come to church. And then it'll also be like, people, Muslims could not get enough of me. I could not walk out the house without someone of the Islamic faith trying to bring me over. And then you had spiritual, like I was attracting all these religious people and these spiritual people, and I was like, okay, I gotta find a home somewhere. I gotta do something with this gift that I have and something. Right. So I decided to. My grandparents were Episcopalian.
Okay.
And I loved my grandfather. And I just wanted to spend time with him. I was attracted to his energy, and I just wanted to spend more time with him. So what I did was I started to go to church with him. And I was so interested in the Episcopalian faith because there was a lot of rituals. And I love rituals just by who I am. Mm-hmm. You know, the whole bowing to the cross, the whole, Holy Communion every Sunday, yes. All of that stuff. They had like this really cool special room where you can go and pray with all these candles lit. Like it just felt it felt good to me. It really did. It felt really good to me. So in order for you to be baptized or to become a member of the church, you had to go through something called confirmation.
Okay.
And I was so down for confirmation because basically you were finding out about the religion, you were finding out about the Episcopalian faith and the church. So, and you're working one-on-one with the reverend, with the priest.
Right.
So this was my opportunity to ask all these questions that have been building up for years.
Right.
Who is Lord? Who is Lord? God? How is Jesus God? And how is Jesus God? And God is Jesus? And like all these things that I was just confused about.
Right, like how are they one and the same?
How are they one and the same? But you're telling me they're not one and the same. But then you're telling me they're one and the same. But then you're telling me they're not one and the same.
Yeah.
Right? So I asked these questions, and I remember, I think I was frustrating him.
Yeah.
I was frustrating the priest. And he said to me, well, his answer for everything was, you can't question God. His answer for everything was, you can't question me. But I had some type of spiritual connection to this church, this spiritual connection to rituals. And I bypassed that, and I decided to go ahead along with the communion anyway, with the confirmation anyway, and I became a member of the church.
Okay.
So as soon as that happened, it was almost instant. As soon as that happened, I began to be attacked spiritually. I mean, like, everything that you can imagine that you do not want to happen to your 15-year-old daughter happened to me. Everything. As soon as I got baptized, it was literally like 2 weeks after that, it was off to the races for the demons. Like, off to the races. And to this day, I kind of understand why, and I might share that later on in another segment.
Right.
But at that point, I became very angry with God, very angry with just everything. And just like you, Shalom, I began to have a political awakening. Mm-hmm. What's going on around us? There were a lot of people during that age, of course, because of the war on drugs, with another air quotes, because of the war on drugs, a lot of my friends were dying. And I would be the first ones who they would come to who they would visit. They were scared. They would come to me and basically say, I'm scared. Like, where do I go? What do I do? As ghosts. I used to work for this shop called Mary Ann's, a clothing store. And for some reason, they would always visit me at Mary Ann's. And I didn't have the answer for them. I was freaked out that I was seeing them. And they're like, yo, I love you. You know, thank you. But what do I do now? And I'm like, go into the light. Right. I had no idea. I had heard of that on like TV. Right. So then when I was 19 years old, again, I was interested in things that I was interested in before I even knew what they were. I went to a bookstore and I bought my first set of tarot cards. I had no idea what tarot was about.
Now, when was this? What year?
This was in 1999.
Wow.
I bought my first set of tarot cards. Yeah, I'm old Kennedy. Kennedy's like, what? And I bought my first set of tarot cards, and without even knowing what meditation was or anything like that, I knew I was supposed to grab this deck of tarot cards, and I was to chant something. So I started chanting, show me the way, show me the light. Show me the way. I didn't know what show me the way, show me the light was at all, right?
Like, where was you going?
Show me the way, show me the light. Show me the way, show me the light. And I started repeating this to the point that my speech was no longer English, it was something else. And I had my first out-of-body experience. And basically, it was like I had astral traveled. I was seeing everyone that I thought were my friends. I was seeing what they were doing to me behind my back. They were stealing money from me. They were trying to sleep with my man, like all kinds of stuff. I was seeing what he was doing, like all kinds of stuff happened. And it freaked me out, but I kind of made myself go back into my body and wake up out of it. And then I went right into the tarot card reading, and the tarot card reading had confirmed everything that I just saw visually with my little out-of-body experience. Freaked me out, put the tarot cards up in the closet, never touched them again.
Wow.
Freaked me out. And
do you remember what deck it was?
No, I don't. I don't remember. I just remember, I'm envisioning it now. All I remember is like it was like a pale green with yellow. Okay. But I don't remember what it was. So after that, I began to have a lot of dreams again, a lot of nightmares and a lot of visions. And the dreams and the visions and everything was scaring me real bad. So that's when I started to drink more. Because it was like So before, when I was younger, I was able to use this ability to like help people. Like, this is when the police is coming to jump out boys. But then that had turned to everything was just noise. So like I would walk into a room, or I would go into a mall, and I can just hear everyone's thoughts and feelings. It was just too much for me. Yeah. I didn't know what in the world was going on with me. I went to church, and church had told me something was wrong with me. I went to one church, to this day I would never step foot in that church again. They had took me downstairs in the basement, and they tried to pray it out of me. I don't know what happened. All I know is I ended up on the floor with a sheet over top of me. Like, I don't know what happened. They all laid hands on me, and it was just crazy. And I never went back to that church again. They was like, well, she just has the devil in her. There's nothing we can do to get it out of her. See? And that made me feel like something was wrong with me. Exactly. So I felt like something was wrong with me. I thought that I was a child, not of God, but of Satan. So I no longer wanted to accept these gifts anymore. I no longer wanted to help. Like, I no longer wanted to be that girl that guided people and gave them direction. I no longer wanted to be associated to any of that. Right. So what I did was I just, to numb it so I can turn off the noise in my head, I started drinking. Yeah. And the noise, year by year, my gifts just went away, year by year by year. So now I'm 40. And throughout that journey between, I was 19, 20, 21 at the time, I think I was. But in between that time, Spirit kept coming at me from different places, just coming at me from different people. And I still knew that I was special. There was one incident where someone was setting my girlfriend's car on fire. And this was the first spiritual situation I had in a very long time. But I had felt fire like come through my apartment. Like I felt the energy of fire come through my apartment. And it was kind of like, if you imagine like an earthquake, if you've ever been in an earthquake where there's like a little rumble and then there's a huge rumble. So I felt like heat coming from out of my bedroom and then like a ball of flames or something. It's really hard to explain, but it hit me. And it was literally like a ball of fire. And when it hit me, it was like, get out. And I looked out the window because something was like, look out the window. I looked at the window, her car was on fire. And they were like, get out of there. Something was like, get out of there. And I left. And when we left, basically what they did was the people at the time, because she was involved in something that I didn't know about, but the people at the time was trying to kill her. So when we left out, they basically set her car on fire to get her to come outside so they can shoot her. So that whole entire experience that saved my life and hers was Spirit was guiding me away from them, like go this way. There used to be a path that I found randomly one day. And the path was to take my son to the daycare center, which was like next door almost. And since I found that path randomly one day, I knew instead of going towards the car to take this path and get away. And that's how we was able to get away. Fast forward into that, there were other experiences along the way. But more recently, when I had my spiritual awakening was because I continued to suppress the gifts with the alcoholism. Yep. So what happened recently was I could no longer be a functioning alcoholic anymore. Like that just wasn't working anymore. Like I had to do something. Mm-hmm. So I decided that I wanted a better life for myself. I was just so miserable and I wanted a better life for myself in a better way. And I was in an abusive relationship at the time and I just wanted better for myself. And I knew the way for me to heal myself was to first take away the alcohol. I had to do that first. So that's what I did. I went and I got some help. And I'm going to tell you, when I tell you that Spirit was sitting there waiting on me. At the door, I was maybe 3 weeks sober. And a huge white figure had came to me. And my mother and I joke about this because he reminds us of Mr. Clean. And the reason why I say that he reminds us of Mr. Clean is that during my spiritual awakening, I was experiencing things 2 weeks after my mother was experiencing them. Wow. So Mr. Clean had visited my mother 2 weeks before he came to see me. Wow. So, and we're still to this day trying to figure out who is this Mr. Clean person. But he came to me and I was like, you need to leave because he was scaring me. And he was like, okay. Like he wasn't pushy or anything like that. I can tell that he was a gentle soul. But those were the type of things that were happening. And then also there was these shadow people. Yeah. So I had stopped drinking and the shadow people would be everywhere in my dreams. They were trying to attack me. They were at work. They were everywhere was these shadow people. Yeah. And I said, oh my God, am I going crazy? All this because I'm not drinking? Like what is happening to me? So I have to give gratitude to Offset because I used to follow Offset because I was on my natural hair journey. Yeah. And she had posted something about her spiritual awakening experience. And that's when she had told her story. And I said, oh my God, this is happening to me too. And that's when she mentioned the Indigo 11 tribe. And when I went in there, I discovered that, no, I'm not crazy. You know what I mean? It's not me coming off the alcohol and having like delusional dreams or anything like that. I'm not delusional. This is real. It is real. So the first thing that I did was I did a workshop. I did an online workshop that was for women that were having their spiritual awakening. Like if you want to begin your spiritual journey, this is where you need to start. Mm-hmm. And it was a 21-day course, right? So the very first thing I did was I had to learn how to tap into myself because like you said, I don't know who I am. Like exactly. I'm sober now. I'm seeing shadows. Like
who is this new person?
Who is this new person? So the first thing I did to tap into myself was every hour on the hour, I had to ask myself, how do you feel? Just how do you feel and why? And I had to do that for a whole day. And there was a fast involved too. There was a fast.
Right.
And I did that. And I was like, whoa. Like I figured out the things that were making me happy and the things that were making me upset. It was that whole thing to me that I believe is a form of shadow work, you know? And then like shortly after that, I did my very first
spiritual bath.
My very first spiritual bath and my very first cord cutting. And it was like off to the races for me. It was like I did cord cutting, spiritual baths, mirror work, moon rituals, all in 1 month.
I believe it.
It was off to the races. And then the thing was as I began to connect to, so the first spirit that I connected to was Higher Me. Higher Me was there because I was so emotionally broken and battered from all of the things that has happened to me and the things that I've done to myself.
Right.
Higher Me was the only person that could like take the fear away so I could be able to connect to the spirits that were waiting for me at the door. Right?
Yes.
So Higher Me was showing me things. She was showing me things from my... She was showing me things.
I can't with him today
either. She was showing me things from my past. Like the reason why certain things were happening in my past. Pretty much she was showing me that she had been there for me the whole entire time. She was protecting me the whole entire time. And it was Higher Me that like protected me as I did my astro traveling and my lucid dreaming and things like that. And she just basically introduced me to my first, like, my ancestors. Like, this is how you connect to your grandfather. This is how you connect. Like, she was just there to protect me and guide me. As I became spiritually stronger, because so for me, it first began for me with internal work. And that's when the crystals started coming and the head wrap started coming, because Spirit was like, girl, you need to wrap that hair up. Get that hair wrapped up because those are your antennas. And right now I am doing free-forming dreads. So I'm just letting it go and doing whatever. Yeah. And then it's so funny because when I take my hair wrap off, my locks will lay flat in the very beginning. And then like as soon as I get around certain people, it begins to like stand up like antennas. It's the funniest thing ever. But so I first connected with me that way, and then I started to bring in different tools. And as I was becoming more spiritually awake, my partner, who was not spiritually awakened, I began to see things in him. So my intuition just turned all the way up. Like it was loud, and Spirit wanted me away from him. Yeah. So Spirit started showing me things in living color. Yeah. What was going on. And also my spiritual healing and me raising my vibrations began to shaken the spirits that was alive and well in him. So I remember one night I actually saw the spirits that was attached to him, and they hated me. They hated me for having this awakening. They hated me that I was no longer available for them to feed off of. Yes. Because they were feeding off of me. I was keeping him alive because he's an older gentleman. I was 38, 39 at the time, and he's like in his mid 60s and something like that. And he was feeding off of me in order for him to have energy, in order for him to do things. He was feeding. And when my vibration went up really, really high, he couldn't feed off of me anymore.
They can't exist.
They can't exist anymore. Nope. So what happened with that relationship was he pretended that he wanted to be spiritually awakened too, right?
You are just... Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he pretended. He pretended. He was like, well, you know what? I'm going to like that sage. Yeah. And we've seen it happen right here on the show. I'm just going to be real. I'm going to be 100. Yes. We've seen it happen here on the show where people are pretending to be something that they're not, right? Yes. Yes. So that's what he was doing. And all that does for us is it shakens us. It shakes us up because we're like, wait a minute, this isn't authentic, but let me see how far you're going to go with this, right? Because let me tell you guys out there, listeners, having a spiritual awakening is like no joke. It exposes the things that's inside of you that's causing your low vibrations. It exposes them. It forces you to look them dead on and take them on and remove them from your spiritual entity, from your body, right?
Exactly, they do.
So that's what happened to him. He began to do mirror work. I was kind of guiding him along the way. He began to do mirror work, and he began to shake up those demons that was living inside of him. He thought this was all a game.
It's not a game.
It's not a game. And the spirits inside of him, to this day, I believe those spirits inside of him knew that their time was up.
Yes.
So they had to do something. So one night, he goes, what's that thing you do? And I'm like, what you talking about? He was like, what's that thing you do where you're like, where you got the music going and you're breathing? I said, meditating? He's like, yeah, I want to meditate with you. And I said, okay. So we go to meditate. I set up everything for him. We go to meditate. And because I have been meditating so heavily, like I meditate 3 times a day. Mm-hmm. Like I'm really trying to get into this. I need to get all this stuff up. I'm heavy with the meditating, so it takes me no time to go out.
Yeah.
As soon as I went out, he attacked me.
You gotcha. I knew it.
As soon as I went out. So that was the end of that story.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it, guys, is when you're meditating, you are in a spiritual form. I had the strength of 1 trillion men. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So be careful with that. Just a disclaimer. And then right after that was removed and I left the situation and I'm in a safe place, Spirit was so happy. And Spirit said, thank you. Thank you for listening to me. And then no longer was it just hire me that I was connecting to. That's when Neteru had showed up in my visions.
Ashe.
And she was just like, baby girl, baby girl, I got you. Mm-hmm. You know, now that you have done this, now that you have believed in yourself enough, now that you have got rid of that person that was feeding off of you, now that you have understanding and you know who you are, let's begin this journey. Let's really, really begin this journey of not only healing you, but healing others.
Right.
And here I am.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I want to know, okay, that was amazing because the whole connection with you and your partner, I had the same connection with my ex as well. But you call yourself the Christian mystic.
Yeah.
So we have about 5 more minutes here. Thank you, Tizzy T. So can you break down what it means to be a mystic Christian?
That's a good question.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead. No,
I thought it was 2 parts.
I was gonna say at its core, like I guess, what is it? Okay, for someone that is still like connecting to Christianity but wants to connect spiritually, because that's what you do.
Right.
How I guess let's just say this. How can they go about it? Because we're on a limited time frame. So how can they go about doing that?
Sure, absolutely. That's a very good question. I did in one point consider myself a Christian mystic, and the reason why I say I did.
Okay, so you no longer do.
Mm-mm.
Oh,
yeah.
When did this happen?
It's levels to this.
It is levels to this shift.
Yes,
it is.
So from this happened maybe 2 weeks ago for me.
Okay.
But
welcome.
Right?
Welcome
to the dark side. But I can still relate to those who may be a Christian mystic, because for me, when you're in the Christian mystic zone, it means that you have 1 foot in Christianity and you got 1 foot in spirituality. Yeah. Right? And you're just trying to figure it out, because literally when I had my awakening, it was around the same time where, I guess when we first met, pretty much. So that was like in the fall. Yeah. So during that time, I was still going to church, and I was heavily connected to Yeshua and things like that, and just trying to figure things out. Excuse me. So what Christian mystics do is they believe in Christ consciousness, right? They believe in Christ consciousness. They're still celebrating Jesus. They're still celebrating it. They're still moved by the music. The music still has an effect on them. Church still has an effect on them, like a positive effect on them.
Right.
The preacher can get up there and preach, and they can be like, amen, hallelujah. They can feel that, right?
Right.
But they still go home and they still do their spiritual baths and they still do their moon rituals and things like that. And there's nothing, universe, wrong with that. That's just where they are in their course of spirituality.
Right.
So they're also probably cherry picking from the Bible. They're probably taking things from the Bible that make sense to them, which is what I was doing, that makes sense to them, and kind of throwing away the other parts of it. You know what I'm saying? And again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's where they are in their spiritual journey. For me, when I moved, for me it was, God, I'm trying to think of like when I exactly like had this aha moment. And I got 2 minutes to explain it. For me, when I had this aha moment, it was literally like an aha moment. Like I'm trying to find and pinpoint it, but I can't. It literally was like, I used to listen to on Pandora, the Pandora music app. I used to listen to a lot of spiritual Christian-based music. It used to make me feel good. Yeah. And then every morning, like that was my thing. And then all of a sudden, it wasn't feeling good anymore. Like I was hearing something else in it. I Give Myself Away was one of my favorite songs, but I was hearing it differently now. Like, I give myself away. Like, what? I don't give myself away. Like,
just like I said, I'm not giving myself to Christ.
Yeah, it just felt, the messaging was different than it was before. And I think it was just that aha moment.
It felt more controlling.
It felt more controlling.
Like brainwashing.
Like it was brainwashing me.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And it just got to the point, I'm not going to say there was an irritation, but like, okay, it literally felt like if I was to hear someone preach, like I would feel almost irritated by the preacher now. Because I just felt like you just have your own agenda. You don't really care about me. Like, I feel bitter. Bitter Betsy is how I feel.
I think Tizzy's bitter with us right now. But it's nothing wrong with being bitter, because that was a phase that you had to go through. And yeah.
So, our time's up.
Part 4.
Part 4 is a-coming, right? Part 4 is a-coming. You know what, guys? Thank you so much for being here with us today on the Nile, right?
Yes. I'm just still in that moment.
I know. I feel like we need to talk more about it.
I just want to talk some more.
It always goes by so fast.
I know, right?
We appreciate all our listeners. And thank you so much for supporting us along this journey, supporting us through the change, supporting us through my spiritual awakening and Shalom's spiritual awakening too. She has a big thing happening tomorrow, which is the opening of her business. And that's all because of spirituality. And so we're running out of time here, but we are here each and every Sunday live right here on the WinDC Radio app and YouTube channel. You can always feel free to catch the replay on YouTube if you missed us today. And for our members and followers on the Patreon account, we love and appreciate you. And if you would like to become a member of our Patreon account, please feel free to head on over to www.patreon.com and just search for Goddess of the Nile Radio. It's your girl Azure Neteru Gaia here with
Shalom, Ashe, Gaia.
And collectively, we are Goddess of the Nile Radio
Show. No West.
And we're out.
Peace.
Peace.